Many men have nothing to smile about. Been broke down, too proud to cry it out. Walk a mile in my boots and you know what I'm about. I took some licks and I took some hits and I found out them bones can actually break sticks. But them words are powerful as shit.
Hello, everyone. How are you? Here we are again to Let the Paint Dry. Welcome. I hope that you are doing well. I hope that you are finding clarity and just beautiful things in these trying times, in this time of COVID, in this time of election year, in this time of cultural change and unrest as we put things together. I hope that you are finding peace and finding purpose and finding rest. So, and as always, we open with a song. Ya don't go, ya don't go, ya don't go, ya don't go, oh, ya don't go, ya don't go, ya don't go, ya don't go. Meeny, Tekel says a hand riding on the wall. Meeny, Tekel says a hand riding on the wall. Meeny, Tekel says a hand riding on the wall. I said, meeny, Tekel says a hand riding on the wall. Seraphim, cherubim, a hand riding on the wall. Meeny, Tekel says a hand riding on the wall. Meeny, Tekel says a hand riding on the wall. Elijah Rock, shout, Elijah Rock coming up load. Elijah Rock, shout, Elijah Rock coming up load. Elijah Rock, shout, Elijah Rock coming up load. Elijah, I said Elijah, Elijah Rock coming up load. Elijah Rock coming up load. Elijah, shout, Elijah coming up load. Meeny, Tekel says a hand riding on the wall. Meeny, Tekel says a hand riding on the wall. I said a meeny, Tekel says a hand riding on the wall. Whoa. I said a meeny, Tekel says a hand riding on the wall. As we move into Let the Paint Dry today, I have to just share how grateful I am, how overjoyed I am, and how challenged I am to live in this time in 2020 and to be doing this work, this human work, this artwork, selling art, creating art, interacting with people, interacting with children sometime, interacting with adults that are finding their creative voice, and sitting with my own blackness, sitting with being black in 2020, and sitting with a world that talks about black people every day. And when I'm in my city driving around, there's Black Lives Matter signs and things being sprayed, Black Lives Matter being tagged on buildings. And it's surreal for me it's a surreal time for me to have that kind of attention. And it's a little bit unnerving and uncomfortable, but here we are. Here we are as a culture forced to deal with one of the most taboo, sensitive things and maybe uncomfortable things for everybody to deal with, but we have to. And then thinking about how painful it is to exist at certain times as a Black person, and then being a creative, and then finding the joy in life. So sitting with all of that can be just like a salad of emotions and just a whirlwind of emotions of things that you can't always, things that are very powerful. Let me finish one phrase at a time. Things that are very powerful, very visceral, can cause visceral responses, but at the same time, finding joy in life and just sitting with all of that and sitting with the struggle that and the challenges that come up, the unique struggles and challenges, because life is hard in general. Life has a edge to it in general for everybody, but there's a uniqueness that Black folks deal with that is can be terrifying, can be goofy, can be ironic at times. So I've been working through the work of Douglas Kearney. He's a poet, artist, I think professor, intellectual, and he writes these beautiful poems. And I've been also working through the work of Sharif Abdullah. He wrote the book, The Power of One. And then I've been sitting with Fred Moten's work. I hope I'm saying that right. He's a professor, poet, writer, intellectual, speaker, lecturer, essayist, I believe, all those things. And one of the things that they have been talking about is really doing this, is this simultaneous, it's like this equinox of looking at historical Black experiences and looking at the future. And one of the things that Douglas Kearney talked about was he talked about how where he went to school, which was very close to where I grew up, where I was born actually. He went to school in Pasadena, California, and he had a administrator that had a mindset of not considering a future for Black children. And that's kind of pretty much been the reality for Black people is not really considering Black people in the future or the present, and historically we haven't been considered economically, socially, so forth and so on. So the question that I've been asking everybody around me in my close circle is, what is the future of Black folks? Now, here's what's crazy. It's not crazy, but here's the reality. The reality is that the future of Black folks is very tied to the future of white folks. As we talked about last podcast, no matter what side of the fence you're on politically or socially, we're all in this together and there is no escape. So really sitting with that. And I've been sitting with, I have a small group of precious family members that I talk to on a regular basis about these questions, and we philosophize and we look at the past of what our fathers did and what our grandfathers did and what was passed down in an epigenetic way and in a just cultural way, and traumas and triumphs and all of that. And one of the things that I realize is that Black people are instinctually dope. We bring flavor and flair to everything we do just naturally. And that's just who we are, because we're always looking from the outside. We don't organically and naturally lean to the mainstream way of thinking of things and looking at things. So there's this uniqueness that we bring. So if you're an ally of Black people, if you're an ally of Blackness, if you're an ally of change and wanting things to be better and do better and wanting us to have an equitable world and a sustainable world, I would definitely align yourself with Black folks, invest into Black businesses. It's just going to be dopeness and richness for everybody. And we'll be able to decide. Ultimately, right now, we have an opportunity to decide what our future looks like right now. It's so in our hands. I don't know if it's ever been this. It's always been this much in our hands, but I don't know if we realize how much it's in our hands right now. Everything we do with coming together, with bringing harmony and dealing with, and it's weird because it's not this, I'm not talking about a utopia or this very toxic positive way of thinking and looking at things, of ignoring or bypassing the pain of Black people or the pain of marginalized people. That's not what I'm talking about, but really sitting with that pain and understanding that and feeling that and making, if you're in a position of power, if you're in a position where you have overflow, man, if you invest that shit, if you invest that into people, if you pour that into people, nothing but richness and goodness is going to come from that. And you're just going to have more of everything, more finances, more culture, more love, more relationships. And it's going to be a beautiful thing. But here's the thing. We have to choose it. It's not going to happen on its own because there's systems in place and there's things that divide people that are naturally in place in our culture and in the fabric of our culture that if we don't intentionally do this, then we'll continue to be separate. We'll live in silos. We'll live in economic silos. We'll live in social silos. We'll live in spiritual silos. We'll live separate. We'll truly be like in the same city, but never talk to each other. So it's gotta be a intentional, mindful effort, and we have to keep talking about it. We have to keep it at the forefront of everything that we do. So that idea of what is the future for Black people, which really is everybody because we're all connected, but I'm in the unique position of being Black, so I have to be responsible for my own Blackness and other Black people that I can help, which is what I do behind the scenes. There's a lot of phone calls, a lot of Zoom phone calls, a lot of coffee dates, a lot of dinners, a lot of conversations around how to navigate this financially and find social and financial equity and find a way, where jobs are very, very scarce, what people are paying and the conditions in which you're working in. Everything's challenging with a pandemic, with these restrictions, and depending on what state you live in, worldwide, really, everything has the context of a pandemic, of a lot of people are protesting and a lot of people are marches. I was at was it yesterday? It was Sunday. I was at a march, and I don't actually march. That's a little bit too dangerous for me personally. I'm just too big and too Black to do all that kind of stuff. So I stay away from that, but I show up and I support the young folks. And so, so you have to be strategic with how you do what you do. Certain people get out there and march, and I appreciate you. But for me, it seems to trigger, just my size alone is stuck in people's psyche, and it seems to trigger violence. So we stay away from that. But I was at a march, and I realized the role that I play now. I play a support role, and I feel like it's a pre-elder role. And I don't know if I'm overreaching by saying that, but I see the young people just rolling with the energy that they're rolling with, and I'm with it. I'm supporting them, and I'm listening to them. And some of their ideas are different from mine, but I respect their ideas. I respect their voices, and I want to continue to give space for that and to listen. And they have the energy and the strength right now. So I'm nothing but I will not stand in the way of their work and all the work that they are doing. I would do nothing but support them and figure out ways to financially support them and strategically support them. So it's a very powerful time, and we have a wonderful opportunity here to make a honest culture, a culture that really sees people, that really sees Black folks, that really sees white folks, that really sees each other. And if we can see each other and also feel each other, like, can we feel where you're at? Can you feel where I'm at? If we can create that kind of world and then give space for that, I truly believe that we can that there's enough room for everybody, right? No one has to decrease for someone else to increase. And if we can let that move into our psyches, because there's policies that need to be changed. There's financial shifting of wealth that needs to be changed. There's rules that need to be changed. There's spaces that need to be changed. There's businesses that need to be redesigned so that they're more inviting, that their language changes. But the ultimate change that has to happen, and it's going to take time, and I've said it before and I'll say it again because I believe it's so important, is there needs to be a consciousness. There needs to be a change in our psyche, in our deep part of our body and our brain. There needs to be a change in how we think of each other and and it needs to be more nuanced. It can't be blanket statements because there's so many nuances and so many variations of people depending on where they came from in the world, in the United States, who were their parents. And we have to start looking at things like that, realizing that those things inform how that person moves through the world and how they show up. There are people that I talk to that show up and they're operating with, many times we show up and we're operating with just the hurt and the trauma, right? And that has to be healed. And there needs to be someone to hold space for that and to give someone the room to grow, to heal, to educate themselves, to be a part of an educational institution, and to find an educational institution that can actually meet them where they are. We have to give room for that. And I'm seeing that with young folks that I'm encountering because I realize that they're going to more than likely be here longer than I'm here. And I see it that they're the future. So to me, it's my responsibility to invest in the future. And it's so critical to invest in the future to the children, the young people, and also invest in ourselves. Like, we're not done learning. Those of us that are at my stage in life, whatever that is. I don't feel old, but I realize I'm not a little kid anymore. And so it's important for me to stay nimble and moldable and teachable, coachable, if you will. So these are things that I've been thinking about and really wanting to express and just put out in the world as an idea of what is the future. And we get to decide. We get to decide right now what our grandchildren and great-grandchildren will say about this time in history and what their reality will be. And there are a lot of people out doing really, really good work and really powerful work around the most troubling, damaging, violent, and repressive and oppressive systems in our culture. And so if you're an ally, it is really important to align yourself with that. And a good place to start is with Black folks, because that's something that hasn't been correctly handled from the conception of this country, but now is an opportunity to make it right. And I'm so overjoyed for the opportunity. I still am amazed that it's our generation, that we who are alive right now, this is our calling. This is the commission that we have been given, is to address this cultural issue, is to make an equitable world. That part still is surreal for me, that we have been allowed this opportunity to make this change. And that's kind of monumental, because when we look back 3 generations, 4 generations, 5 generations, the last time something this pivotable, significant opportunity may have been 100 years ago. And so when we look at that, and then there's some people I've been talking about a few years before that, a few decades before that. But that's where we're living at. We're living in a historical time where everything we do is historical. Everything we do is monumental, whether you see it or not. The most minute thing that you do is extremely important. And business and personal life, to me, all of it is connected. When you're providing a service, whether it's like my kind of work, which is art and creative stuff, and I'm creating little moments of joy for people and selling art and interacting, or it's just like a regular service where you're a plumbing company or you're a, septic company. It's historical, it's powerful, it's important. And one of the things as you align yourself, one of the things to keep in mind as you align yourself with Black businesses, with Black people who are doing work, who have products, is be prepared to pay full market value. Be prepared to support Black people just like you support huge brands that have been around in America forever. They're brands that have been around for 127 years, and they're the leading brands in America. Let's support each other like that. Let's support each other. Let's make businesses last for 127 years. That's the future. Let's have a 127-year plan. So the work that we do, let it ring and echo for 127 years. So when we think about that, then we don't just do things haphazardly. We don't just purchase haphazardly. We invest in a way the plan is for it to go for 127 years, for it to be sustainable, right? So those are some of the things that I'm thinking about living and strategizing about as we move forward and invest in each other, and as we move forward in business. Now, I've had the honor and the privilege of selling my art down at the waterfront in Ruston by the Ram here in Tacoma, Saturdays and Sundays, and I'm going to keep it going until the end of September. So I invite you to come down and be a part of that. And one of the things that I see is just everybody's fighting, showing up, and they're fighting not with an aggression, not with a what you may think of fighting, but fighting by showing up and spending their money and supporting vendors and supporting small businesses. That's how you fight. That may be your version of marching, right? Is buy an original piece, because that's a little bit more money, and that goes a long ways. And for me, I got prints as low as $3 all the way up to paintings that are 10 grand, and all of it's for sale. And all of it's ready to go to bless someone, to help someone, and it helps me, and that in turn helps other people, because I can give more. The more I get and sell, the more I can give. So that's my philosophy. That's my mindset as we move in the world. And that's what I want to promote and put out from me, is this holistic business. Holistic being, it's human beings. We're not machines. We're human beings showing up with a product, showing up with a concept, the concept of let the paint dry. It's a brand. It's a podcast. It's a way of life. It's a philosophy, right? And we're showing up in the world with this concept, creating art, creating physical things that bring joy to people's lives and communicate a story and inform and educate. And we touch on all the things in our paintings and in our work. We touch on the pain. We touch on the trauma. We touch on the triumphs. We touch on the failures. We touch on the things that are just disgustingly wrong. We touch on all that. But we don't just stay on one thing, because we aren't just one thing as human beings. We're all of those things, right? That's all a part of our story. So I'm extremely encouraged and focused, kind of hyper-focused in this season, which is, I think, natural when you get clarity and you know where you're going and you're on a 127-year plan is what we're trying to work on. There's a hyper-focus. So if you want to help out with that and help out with the work that I'm doing, feel free to reach out to me at travisjohnsonart.squarespace.com. And my email is travisjohnsonart.gmail, or on Facebook. Instagram is Travis Johnson Studios, so feel free to reach out to me there. And we're looking for sponsors for this. We have a wonderful support team, and we're looking for more for this podcast. So if you want to get into that, feel free to email me, and I'll share all that with you. We have beautiful things going on behind the scenes that is pushing this forward. And we want to continue this work, and we want to invest very deeply. We want a very deep investment into this brand and into this idea, because there are a lot of others that need a pathway, and we have to create that pathway in this season in our lives. We have to create that pathway for others that come behind us. And again, none of us get to escape. We're all in this together. So it takes a very open conversation about these things. So that's something that is available. So definitely reach out to me if you feel so inclined. I respond quickly. and I'm overjoyed to invite you into this work. So I think now would be a good time for another song. You know, this show, we just go off of what we feel. So, man, the river just came back into mind. We sang about that before, but now let's do it again. Mm, 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 mm. Where there is a river, you will find me. Where there is a river, you will find my soul running through the woods, running through the valley. Sometimes it rains, sometimes it snows, sometimes the wild fires burn, but the river keeps on running, running on. Where the river begins, you will find my soul. And where the river ends, nobody really knows. River run, river run, river run, carry my soul, oh, river run. Sometimes it snows, and sometimes those stormy winds blow, but that river will run, that river will run. That river will run. Where that river ends, nobody knows. Where that ends, nobody will know. River, 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 river. So it's always a pleasure to be in the studio here and to share what's on my mind with you and what is on the top of my heart. And one of the things to look forward to, we're working on a show for the fall. It'll be down in Olympia. So those in the Olympia area, or if you want to drive down there, it'll be at the South Puget Sound Community College. I believe I said that right. At the gallery space there. They have a beautiful gallery space. It'll be there, and we'll have some sculptures, some paintings, and it'll run for the fall on into the winter. So look forward to that. And as things come up, you can sign up on our website for a newsletter, and we'll be sharing things in the newsletter. And then we share daily on Facebook and Instagram. So I appreciate each and every one of you. I appreciate your views. I appreciate your energy. And I look forward to probably meeting some of you around town and wherever we're at out in the public. We appreciate you. Let the paint dry. Go with love. We look forward to being here again, and we're coming here every week. So we appreciate you guys. Thank you.